Welcome to this session on randomized quiz questions in MOOCs. We are aware that for conducting assessment in online courses, we will have to set quizzes or tests. How do we design and create quiz questions? First of all, we note that the assessment must provide choices to the students for them to identify the correct choice. So, this is for multiple choice questions. Further, the question answering quiz system should collect a short answer also when we want a numerical or text input as an answer to our question. So, these are two most commonly used quiz types which I will illustrate through an example. Finally, we want the system to evaluate the answer and determine whether it is a correct answer or wrong answer. We also would like to provide an explanation for students to understand if their answer is wrong, why it is wrong, and if it is correct, of course, how it is correct. Now, one problem with these kind of quiz setups for online exams or online assessment is all students will generally get the same question. They will get the same options, and of course, the correct answer will also be identical in all cases. Now, you can imagine, even if I am conducting a proctored exam, a supervised exam where all students sit in a lab, it is very easy for one student to look at left and right and check what is the answer my neighbor is giving and simply copy the answer. How do we prevent that? Well, the best way of preventing is to ensure that every student gets a different version of the same question. Multiple choice and short answer quizzes can be very easily created on the MOOCs platform. The creation of the quizzes happens on what is known as the content management system, whereas once a quiz is created, it is shown to people on the learning management system or LMS. What you see as participants on IIT Bombay X is actually the learning management system. We people at the back end create the quizzes, assessments, in fact the entire course structure and course content. We do that on the CMS, which on our platform is called the studio. Now, in this studio we create the quiz, we also create randomized quiz creation, which is possible. We will see some examples here. First, let us consider how a quiz is created. In the studio, there is a set of contents which are displayed to the teacher. The teacher usually creates sections, subsections and units. In any particular week you will have sections, in any particular section you could have subsections, and in a subsection you could have units. This is an example where I want to create a new subsection. So, I will click on this new subsection and I will get this kind of screen. In this subsection, let us say I say graded quiz. Now, I will type this, I can edit the name. Under this there will be a new unit which could be actually the quiz unit. So, I will go here, and when I click after renaming the subsection that I wish, I will be able to create a quiz. When I say create a quiz, I get a screen which will show me, let us say, quiz number 7, this is what I have edited as the name of the quiz, and I will get a sequence of options here. Since I want to create a problem, I will click on the problem. Notice that you also see on the right hand side some additional information which is related to what we call publishing. Please note that while I create the quiz, the activity of creation is not seen by my students. Only when I complete my quiz creation and publish, we will see how that can be done. Then people will be able to immediately see it on the learning management system side. So, to continue in this particular case, I will click on the problem, and when I do that, I will get a choice of problems to be selected. Notice that quiz number 7 appears now as the subsection title, and in the unit what I am doing is I am choosing a problem. Let us say I choose the multiple choice problem here. When I choose a multiple choice problem and click, I will actually get a template. So, this is the kind of template that you will get. Notice a sample quiz question is shown here with sample choices that people will see. Of course, this is not the quiz that I want to give, but what I can do is I can use this sample template and edit it. For editing, there is a symbol here called edit. When I click on the edit, I will get an edit window in which I can edit out. I can simply type the text that I wish to be used as a question. Notice that this part is a question part. So, see what I have said. Consider that the three angles of a triangle are so and so, so and so, so and so. What type of triangle is this? This is the question. Of course, the remaining part is still from the old template which I have to edit. This is just to show how I edit. Notice a few important things in the edit window. The choices now appear preceded by a pair of brackets. All of these will appear as individual choices. There is a X character that you see here. It denotes the correct answer. Of course, all of this is not displayed to the student, but this is the method for my content management system or the studio to know what specifications I am giving. Further, as I mentioned, I would like to offer explanations for right or wrong answer. Notice the last paragraph preceded and succeeded by word explanation in square brackets. This is the IIT Bombay X style of specifying an explanation which should appear whenever the student wants to weave an answer. When I complete this editing of a template, I might get a question like this. So, here again consider the three angles. Notice the three choices I am mentioning: acute, obtuse and right angle triangle. Notice that given the three angles, each of which is less than 90 degrees, the correct answer is actually acute, and that is why I have put X here indicating this is the correct answer. Of course, students won't know it and they may choose any one of these. Later on, when the students attempt the question and they want to see the answer, they will see this explanation which I write. Notice that you have to take care to give a detailed explanation, clearly stating why the correct answer is correct and why other answers are wrong. Once I do this, of course, I may want to prescribe a few additional details about this question. For example, how many times I want to permit people to attempt this question, how many marks are associated with this. All these details are indicated in the settings tab. So, when I click on the settings, I will get this page. Notice the settings is highlighted here. Here I will get to see a display name. So, this is my first question of the quiz. I might put it Q1. This is what will appear as text in that question. Let us forget discussion on this, but look at this maximum attempts. I might want to permit students to make 2 or 3 attempts. I can prescribe that. Here I have said 1, that means every student will get only 1 attempt to answer this question. Finally, there is a problem weight. This is the marks that are to be given. So, I have written here 2, that means it is a 2 mark question. When I save and go ahead, I would have set the details for that question. Finally, this is how the question will appear to my student. Question 1, 2 points possible, and then it will show the question, it will show various options. Notice that it does not show me what is the correct answer, of course, but because this is a quiz. Now, when I click on any one of these, I can say final check and save, and I would have submitted my quiz. When I submit my quiz, I have an option of showing answers. So, when I click that option, and suppose I have chosen obtuse, which is a wrong answer, let us see what happens. I will get to see the following. I will get a cross against the answer which I have ticked, I will get a tick against the right answer, and my explanation will appear. No square brackets on either side, this is the explanation as the student will see that. So, I hope you notice how easy it is to set up a multiple choice question. Of course, we are talking about a question which is a prefixed question. That means the same question will appear for all the students taking the exam. We did mention about randomization, we will look at those possibilities now. But this describes very briefly and completely the entire procedure for setting up of a quiz on our MOOCs platform. Other MOOCs platform provide very similar facilities. Let us look at randomization of a quiz. What is involved in randomization? What we wish to achieve is as follows. We want each student to get a different version of the same question. We also want perhaps a different or a permuted set of choices. we also want an appropriate explanation for the question that one gets. So, if I get a permuted choice of options and if I get different version, my explanation should automatically be generated to match that version. Appears difficult problem? Well, it is not as difficult as it sounds. Let us look at how we go about doing this. The studio in IIT Bombay X or OpenEDX has these features. We will see a couple of examples. One will be a question on MCQ on triangles that we just saw. The second is a short numerical answer type question. It is an extremely simple numerical question where we expect people to add two numbers and give us as an answer the actual value of the sum. Let us take the second example first. So, in this first example, we want to ask a student that let some symbol be value 10, some another symbol be value 200. The question is compute the sum of A and G and call the sum as another symbol L. We give an example that L is equal to A plus G. Write the value of L, that is the sum obtained by adding these two, in the box provided. This is the quiz which we want to give. Ordinarily, as we saw, by the way, there are possibilities of giving not an MCQ but this type of quiz, and this is constructed in a very similar fashion that we have just seen. But what would happen is the same quiz will appear to everybody. What we may want is another student should get a different version. For example, this version could be let C be 40 and H be 300. Compute the sum of C and H, call the sum as N such that N is equal to C plus H, and write the value of N, that is the sum obtained, in the text box given below. So, notice what will happen if we are able to do this kind of randomization. Different names will appear for all the three values. Here they were A, G and L, here they are C, H and N. Different values will be associated with the first two names, here 10 and 200, here 40 and 300. Obviously, the correct answer will be different in these two cases. However, our specification of randomized quiz will permit us to specify what would be the correct answer in each case. Hence, the different correct answer for student 1, if he or she types 210, that will be correct. For the second student, 340 will be the correct value. How do we achieve this? This is actually achieved by a little bit of programming which can be written in some programming script very easily. Of course, that is an expert matter. So, those of you who are not programmers will only be able to set the specifications for randomization. Let us look at what kind of specifications we wish to set. The methodology for randomizing is as follows. I design a question where I give the question text, I give the problem type, whether it is multiple choice question or numerical input or text input. I give the marks for the question and I give the explanation. However, I convey the question and its specification for randomization to a concerned team. That team will write the programming script, and IIT Bombay X currently uses Python programming for such script, but other platforms may use other programming practice. However, please note, this was exactly the same design method that we used for creating a question. This time, since we want to specify a randomized question, the design of the question text, of explanation will have to be different. Let us see how that would be. So, here is a sample specification. This looks very much like our question itself, but look at the way it is worded. Let N1 in apostrophe be 10 and N2 in apostrophe be 200. Compute the sum of N1 and N2. Call the sum as N3, that is N3 is equal to N1 plus N2. Write the value of N3, that is sum obtained, in the text box given below. Well, this is just a sample. Note that we are using the terms N1, N2 and N3 which are not there in our original specification. Now we have to specify randomization. So, this could be the specifications of randomization. So, we say placeholder is range. We want variable N1, that means whatever we have used as N1 should be replaced by a symbol which is between A and F. This is arbitrary range. We specify the value of N1 itself should be between 10 and 150. We say variable N2 is between G and K, and we say value of N2 should be between 151 and 300. What we are specifying is a set of range of values, and we expect the back-end capability of the platform to generate randomly any number or any symbol in these ranges and create a random question for us. However, we have to give an instruction, compute value of n3 using n3 plus n1, n3 equal to n1 plus n3. Note that we are going to ask the student, say what is the sum of these two values. He will actually get two specific numbers, but the correct answer will be dependent on this. Match with the answer of the student, which will be answer will be n3. Award 2 marks if the answer is correct, else 0 marks, and check to see whether the answer that we give in trial gives appropriate marks or not. So this is a trial that I would like to locally perform. Please note that to create these specifications for randomization and to define the quiz in this fashion, I do not need any programming knowledge, I do not need any programming expertise. Any one of us as teachers would be able to create this. All that we need to remember is that we have to specify certain variables in apostrophe, and in these specifications we have to specify a range of values or the range of symbols that will be used in the randomization process. The backend actually will be able to generate the two different quizzes, for example, that we saw earlier. So this is student 1 will get this, student 2 will get this. Notice that what we wrote as n1 is appearing as A for student 1, is appearing as C for student 2. Let us go back to the previous slide. You will notice that the range for the symbols has been given as A to F, and the backend has chosen A in one case and C in another case. Similarly, it will make choices randomly for all variables. However, having made choices randomly for the names or symbols and the values, it will know correctly what is the right answer for this student and what is the right answer for this student. This is exactly what is done for other cases also. For example, if we look at the question on triangles, we want student 1 to get, consider that there are 3 angles of a triangle are 45, 57 and 78. Another student we want to get, consider the 3 angles are 15, 40 and 125. Obviously these two triangles are of different type. The choices are still acute, obtuse and right angle. Notice that another student get these in some permuted fashion. Clearly no two students even sitting next to each other can ever copy the answer, because correct answers are different, choices are different. What should be the specification given by us for this randomization? Very easy. Consider that the 3 angles of a triangle are angle 1 degrees, angle 2 degrees and angle 3 degrees. Notice that we are introducing variables by putting them in single quote. What type of triangle is this? Acute, obtuse and right angle, same answer. Now we have to give specifications for randomization in terms of these 3 symbols that we have used. This is one sample specification. We say placeholder is range. By the way, this has nothing to do with any syntax or anything associated with the backend platform. As a teacher, I am merely specifying the randomization required to a programming team at the backend. Once I give these specifications, whether I am using IIT Bombay X or Coursera or any other platform which permits such randomization, my backend team will be able to write short programming script to achieve this randomization. See what we prescribe? Type of triangle. So choose a random correct answer out of acute, obtuse and right angle. So we are saying you randomly decide what triangle you want to display to a student. But once you do that, randomize the values of angle 1, angle 2, angle 3 as per the specifications given below, which will match any one of these. Now shuffle the order of the choices, and if the final answer is correct, award 2 marks, otherwise award 0 marks. This is my specification written in plain English. How am I prescribing the values for angle 1, angle 2 and angle 3? This is interesting. I know that the 3 angles must add to 180 degrees. So I will permit one of the angles to be chosen randomly by the backend system. So I say angle 1 could be between 2 to 89 degrees. For obtuse triangle, angle 1 should be between 91 to 178, and for right angle triangle, angle 1 should be 90. But once I choose this, depending upon what the backend system has chosen to present in this random version, whether acute or obtuse or right angle, it will choose angle 1 randomly like this, in this case fixed, but angle 2 will now be chosen as 91 minus angle 1 or 180 minus angle 1 plus angle 2 for angle 3, because this will be the correct specification for an acute triangle. Exactly similarly I prescribe for obtuse and for right angle triangle. Notice that in right angle triangle my angle 1 is fixed at 90, so I ask the backend system to generate angle 2 randomly between 1 to 89, and of course the angle 3 gets automatically fixed. Once again I will suggest, please look at the ease with which we can specify the randomization of even this problem, and once this specification is given, the backend system will automatically generate first the type of correct answer, acute, obtuse or right angle, then according to the generated choice it will generate random values for these angles correctly, and then it will create a question as we saw in the sample. Once this is done, you have to write some programming script at the back end. Some of you who are well versed with programming might want to know more details, how such program scripts are written in Python for example. A tutorial document has been created by our team here, Firuza Aibara and Nagesh Karmari, and this document, which describes the randomization of quizzes for our course CS101, which is a IIT Bombay course on programming. Same course we offer on MOOCs as course CS101X. This randomization is heavily used there. The document which is available on the FDP site, both on Moodle and on IIT Bombay X, this is the name of the document. Those of you who are interested, I urge you to read this document and try to understand a more detailed nitty-gritties of how to write programs at the back end for such randomization. Thank you.